With gold's price breaking record after record, it seems like it's on top of the world right now. Well, sooner or later, I think something is going to change. And in this video, we're going to discuss the asset classes that could challenge gold's dominance as we explore. Right now, people are very happy, especially those of us who believe in sound money and believe, especially in gold, to see it break all-time highs. In fact, well over 24 times it has done that this year, with one of those times breaking a record even when adjusted for inflation. But sooner or later, gold is going to have to come back down to reality because there's a lot that is propping it up right now. Now, we know it's a long-standing safe haven asset. It does protect us against inflation and economic instability. That is something that is profound, and that's what's happening now. And that has been exacerbated by what central banks are doing to accumulate it. That is what has propped it up. Why are they doing it? Because they understand it's an anchor of trust and that it is a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. We can be our own central banks by purchasing gold ourselves. And I know the prices are very high right now, but there are ways to get in with fractional gold products as well. And Summit Metals has a good variety of those for the major stacking portions of it, like Eagles especially, the most popular. They have some of the best prices out there for it. Their selection is expanding and their service is outstanding. Elevate your wealth with Summit Metals. So we know what's going on in the world today, that there is essentially a shifting landscape, and a hint of the threat to gold's dominance has already occurred. And I'm going to show you what that is right now. Bitcoin, that's right. Bitcoin, of course, there's a lot of folks in this community that come to my channel that really hate these cryptocurrencies, and especially Bitcoin. But there's a number of those who laugh at those of us who are stackers, who hate gold and silver, and they love Bitcoin. But I would say that probably the Bitcoin threat should not be one. It's really a different asset class. It's a speculative asset class that has obviously done very well, reaching record highs of over $100,000 per Bitcoin. I remember a day when I would have laughed in your face if you said it was going to get anywhere near $1,500 a Bitcoin, much less $3,000 a Bitcoin. And gold has not long ago surpassed the $3,000 mark. Many people feel it's a long time coming, and many people feel that because of what happened with cryptocurrencies, and especially Bitcoin, that it should be a lot higher than that. Well, obviously, Bitcoin is staying up fairly much. It's very volatile in its moves, but even right now, it's above $90,000 a Bitcoin. So some people will say, well, that is the dominating factor. Well, that's not really the case. We know that there's been more focus with a lot more cryptocurrencies out there and increased digitization. And we've also seen more decentralized finance and blockchain technologies take root and take hold with emerging digital assets that are offering potential for growth and innovation. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. It should not compete, but believe it or not, it does. Because imagine, if you will, if none of these things existed, there was no blockchain, if there was no Bitcoin, where would people go for decentralization? Gold. And by the way, there probably could be even digital versions of gold that people could have put their money in that are trusted. Of course, we know there's ETFs, which essentially are exposure to gold's price. But there would have been digital variations formed much more in a strong way, I think, than what Bitcoin has, to be able to provide stability and as long as there's accountability there. But that really did not happen. Everything moved more towards energy, and in other words, mining, utilizing a GPU and CPU technology, and being able to do that. That's still a lot of it in terms of the transactions that are needed, how much energy is used for the transactions. Whereas gold is about the energy used to mine it. But there is that challenge. It is a challenge that is growing among young folks because we live in a digital age, to the point where now people are not buying as much a hard copy of anything these days, from movies to music, where there was a time when the smell of a new CD or a vinyl or a tape was all the rage. That was what it was about. You turn it over, side A, side B. You stick the physical medium in the player and it plays it. Even though it's digital, such as the form of CD or digitally mastered tapes, and nonetheless, nowadays, everything is streamed in a digital format through an internet connection. So our music and our TV and the way that everything is going is towards digital. Physical is kind of passé, so to speak, and it's becoming more and more that way. So that means it doesn't excite the younger generations as it once would have. And so that is a challenge, the digital challenge of what we're seeing here with gold. So keep that in mind, that could essentially dominate. I think it comes down to a point where we have to educate the younger folks and others who are moving in that direction to understand the value of having physical assets, something you can actually hold and you own, and it's tactile. You can touch it, you can see it. It's in your possession, and it doesn't have to be a competition, but nonetheless, that is a real threat. And it can be unexpected if we see the United States move in this direction with Senator Loomings from Wyoming, who has proposed revaluing gold and taking that money and putting it towards a Bitcoin reserve in the United States, which I think is a mistake. But if the United States does that, we may see other countries do that. That's going to cause Bitcoin's price to rise even further and really set itself up to really, in a sense, be the ultimate decentralized currency that's out there. And so that is a real threat to gold's dominance. Now, I think that would cause the prices to grow dramatically, because it would legitimize it from governments, from not just the United States, but other governments. Now, I know that technology is something that we need to keep an eye on, but I don't think we should compromise our gold reserves, even utilizing the revaluation thereof to that end. Because what does that mean? You put the revalued asset into Bitcoin, and that means there's risk to your gold, to your physical gold. Where if they want to take delivery, who's going to take delivery for it? I don't know. But nonetheless, it's a real problem. And so there's that. I think that's probably the biggest threat to it. There's another unexpected threat to gold's dominance, and that is either because of the Bitcoin reserves being formed in the United States and other nations doing it, following it, they may actually sell off some of their physical gold in order to buy Bitcoin or other asset classes. In other words, we see the world stabilize to a point, and some of the central banks realize, you know what? Compared to our GDP, we've got too much gold. We need to help our nation out, so we sell some of our gold reserves. Maybe not to go to the extremes that Canada did back in 2016 or the United Kingdom did back in 2002. But nonetheless, if enough nations sell off a fairly healthy portions of their gold reserves, there's a lot of gold that has flooded the market that's going to cause the price to go down, removing it from being an asset class that is dominating as it is now in terms of the best performing asset of this year so far. So that is a real threat, and it might be somewhat unexpected, especially how quickly things could move if the United States does this, because people tend to follow what this country does. And we know that already Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are gaining popularity as alternatives to gold. And even if they were to go away, would those that are involved in those cryptocurrencies and digital assets move to gold? No, they wouldn't. They would find something else, some other type, or create another type. I don't know what would happen, but there is a disconnect between the physical and the digital in general, and we're moving further away from a physical age, unfortunately. So that is a real threat to gold's dominance, I feel. The other thing that could threaten gold's dominance is, believe it or not, the clue is in this piece right here. Silver. That's right. And many people feel that would not be a bad thing if silver were to dominate, were to perform very, very well as a commodity, especially if there's a whole heck of a lot of demand for it. We could see the price of this skyrocket if there is exponential demand. I think it would take exponential demand and opportunity buying of the metal in order to see the potential there and capitalize on it. Capitalization of the potential of silver is something that a lot of us in this community have felt is long overdue. We think it's undervalued compared to gold, especially with the ratio trading at over 100 to 1. Silver is the metal that would draw people's attention. Not only will they be buying it in terms of ETFs and other forms in that regard, you would probably see more people stacking the physical versions of it as well. So in other words, it's a direct competition that silver could outperform, much like it has done in previous bull markets. Silver greatly outperforms. People feel that it is long overdue for that to happen. I think in some way that is a much more palpable solution to dominating over gold than Bitcoin, I think, at this point. And again, I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I just think that there's better ways I think I love the hard assets. Let's put it to you that way. And I think there's something there, a protection that you don't get with cryptocurrencies, where there's risk that are really kind of not talked about a whole lot, that should be discussed more with regards to cryptocurrencies. So I think that is the other big threat that we're seeing that could come down the road for gold. I think in the long run, that would actually help gold if silver were to climb up. And it'd be nice to see gold follow silver for once rather than the other way around in terms of a precious metal. Now, those are really the two biggest threats, I think, to gold's dominance right now, other than just the natural correction that we're going to see in the gold market that would happen with a stable economy and the like, and then people just stop talking about it. And then there's natural sell-offs of gold in terms of in private hands as well as in central bank hands, and then something else could take its place down the road. Who knows what that could be? But more likely it probably would be cryptocurrencies or some other stocks, bonds, and that types of things. So we'll see how it plays out. But there you go. Those are the threats to gold's dominance. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.